So you think you are immune to a foreclosure, a car repossession, losing the majority of your contracts in your business? You're an entrepreneur. You got some savings. You got about 6 to 8 months worth of savings, and you think you can't lose. You think you're immune to losing it all. Got a little rental property. You think you're immune to losing it all. Get close to God. Lean not to your own understanding. Does this sound familiar? I'm going to go back in time. At the time when I really got hit hard with a recession, I had rental property. It was out of state at the time. That's very important. And I had a brand new home. Didn't have no credit card debt. Only had one car payment. I had a couple of businesses. I had a job. Of course, like I said, during the economic downturn, some people, they're giving feedback, but they hadn't lived it. They haven't been in a situation where when you have government that stops spending and cuts the faucet off with programs, with initiatives, and you got contracts that's tied to the government, even though it may be local. Mine was local and statewide. Those contracts came to a halt. I had blanket POs. Some people don't understand what a blanket PO. A blanket PO does not mean that you're going to get that money that they cut the PO for. They just saying, hey, we expecting to spend this with you, and we can increase it at any time, but we're not required to spend it with you. But I looked at my track record, and I'm doing my budgeting. I'm trying to be sound. I got a good savings. I got a good amount in my savings account. I got some assets that I could liquidate, and I had to liquidate. Thank God I had tangible assets that I could liquidate, because the market went down and all my investments, I couldn't pull it out at that time, because if I pulled it out at that time, I'm selling them at a low. So I had tangible assets. I had some old collector cars at the time. Meanwhile, rent was definitely going up, but guess what was happening at my rental property that was out of state? People were breaking leases. They would sign a lease. I don't care what you run, the background check, the credit check. When things hit the fan, and we're not talking about just one state, we're talking about nationwide. People money get funny, and people going to protect what they need to protect. So I was having people breaking leases, and I was having to come back, cross the line, back and forth, and then ended up cleaning, prepping the house again, getting it back up. Meanwhile, guess what? I had a mortgage on that bad boy, so I had to keep paying the mortgage, but my contracts were slowly decreasing. Now I'm back and forth, trying to get a new tenant in, getting a new tenant in, ramping it up. By the time I ramp it up, next thing you know, 30 days, 120 days, I'm having to list my rental property back. So guess what I have to do? I had to sell it. I sold my property because it was sucking so much out of me, my rental property. Then I needed it to survive off of, because here it was, my income had dwindled. My contracts had come to a screeching halt. You lose your job, you lose your rental property. Yeah, I sold it. I didn't make a big profit like I should have, because the market was low. I'm trying to share some things with y'all to get you tightened up, to get you squared up before it gets real bad. Some people say, we already been in a recession for 1 to 2 years. That tells me that you really don't understand how bad it can get when you can't get a job with multiple years of experience in leadership, management, business ownership, and you can't even get a job at a grocery store, at a fast food. In my area, I couldn't get no employment. It was pockets of people still employing, but you had to be where that action was. And that's what led me to leaving and moving to another area, staying with my family members, sleeping on the couch, allowing me to go and find another job market, because it was dry where I was at. Of course, the months don't stop. And we're talking about drought of over a year. That drought wasn't just in 08. That drought lasted well past 08, right? So here it is where no one's hiring, not a lot of money circulating. You're trying to hustle, trying to do an eBay thing here, try to sell some copper here, try to sell a car here. You're doing all of these different things to stay alive and keep your head afloat. And meanwhile, your savings are doing just like this, and dwindle. And you think you're immune. You think you're immune. But what I'm trying to prep you for, to not go through what I went through, right? Because I'm telling you, fam, it can really happen to you, whether you believe it or not. But what can you do? Let's talk about some solutions. You remember in my last video, I already said, you're going to have to get a little bit tight. Be proactive before things get tight. Now, we already know that the 1%ers generate the most revenue and expenditures. So what are they expending transactions on during the time of recessions? High-end products, high-end cars, property, a lot of tangible assets, a lot of vacations, a lot of different things, because the majority of Americans will not have that expenditure. They will be barely making it. And you're gonna see a lot of wealthy people. They're gonna be flossing because they're gonna be getting things at discount prices. They're gonna be having these beautiful cruises, these yachts. They're gonna have custom made things and all this kind of stuff at low end prices because people just trying to get their business because that's where the money's at. So for them, it's gonna look totally different. It's gonna look like, I can feel it a little bit. Yeah, my grocery bill going up a little bit. Yeah, my light bill going up a little bit. Yeah, a little bit for gas, but I'm still good because the gap is gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now let's fast forward. What can we do as an everyday person in a recession or whatever you want to call it? Because some people, they focus so much on what I call it, depression, recession, or whatever you want to call it. It's going to change and rock your world financially. It's going to create a little uncomfort in your life. Whether you already been doing it, which you could be already exhibiting those attributes, but they're going to get even tighter. And it's going to be more and more people that's going to feel the pain that you've been feeling, right? So with that said is, liquidate everything you can possibly, anything you don't need. Another thing is find you some other additional income that's recession proof. What's recession proof? People gonna eat, drink, smoking, they trying their best to pay the rent, find a low cost rent. They're gonna be pooling their resources together. So look for opportunities where you can bundle and package things. If you offer services, maybe you can bundle and package services. Try to get people to collaborate together. Try to get them to pool their resources to get more things together. Like when I was doing, class example, this is very basic, but I was doing promotional items. I was doing silk screens, hats, embroideries, and all that kind of stuff. People still wanted to get away even though they was going through some situations. But one of the things that as a business owner, I would have reduced some of my type of materials, the quality of those shirts and the materials. I should have went ahead and reduced it down and brought it down. And then I should have created bundle packaging pricing. So for example, a family reunion, if instead of saying it's gonna be this much for so many shirts, I would have did for every member, you need to get in 50 people or 25 people. And for each person, the price will be XYZ. And bring the pricing down. You got to get creative with what you're doing. If you're offering a service, whether it's to business coaching, whatever it may be, bundle, package it, but make it where they can recruit and bring in people to you, but make the price so attractive to them that they want to go and recruit people to bring in things. So you're going to have to be very creative with your strategies. People still going to spend money. People may not do it as much, but they're still gonna spend money, and people wanna get away from the day-to-day situation. You get any surplus, you pack away like the squirrels out here, you pack away for those times and those challenging situations. You can get through this thing, and I know you can get through these things, but don't be afraid to turn loose some of these tangible assets, some of these things you think they're really worth something, but nothing is worse than you fight, and then somebody still come and get them. Before it gets bad, go ahead and relinquish, go ahead and get out. And if you can afford, you might lose on some situations, but I believe long term, if you really weigh your options and look at situations, and then if you count costs of stress, anxiety in your family, uncertainty in your family, and all the nights of not being able to sleep, you'll see that holds a value. So now let's get back to the core of being close. Another thing, in entertainment. Instead of entertainment, going out, doing different things like this, have you what they used to do back in the days, rent parties. You know, have you some house parties, have you some movie nights, have you some game nights, have you some word trivia nights. Maybe come together and watch one video, or if there's some prepaid stuff, you know, gotta get creative. So these are the things that a lot of our youth haven't experienced. And I get it. People my age, people a little bit younger than me, and people that's older than me. What I'm saying to you all, I'm not really talking to you all. I'm talking to the people who have not gone through this situation. Because the bottom line is, I want to share some things that was not given to me. I just had to figure it out. I just had to keep trying to swim and trying to swim and trying to figure it out. My goal is to help people, not to not to just talk about, oh, this has happened to you. It's happening to all of us. It does not show any partiality to one or other. Now, there may be some more challenges because everybody say sometimes some ethnic groups, when one person get a cold, another ethnic group gets the flu or the pneumonia. Yeah, I'm not saying the impact will not be different based on certain demographics or wherever you may be located, but you can make it through this if you prepare yourself. And one of the things that I would have probably not done is touch my retirement. I would have left my retirement there, and I know it was sinking. It blew my mind. I was 30 some odd years old, and I had well over 6 figures in my retirement, and I watched it go from 6 figures down to around $55,000. And I was like, what in the world is going on? It blew my mind, because all I was thinking about how many years it took for me to get to that point. It took me a lot of years. It took me a lot of sacrificing and saving for that. But just keep this in mind, fam. Don't panic. Be cool, because it's better for you to just leave that if you can. Now, I get it. You get some desperate times, some desperate situations. And if you foresee those desperate times, those desperate situations, you might want to jump on that like ASAP, wise up. Because you don't want to wait till everything is gone, everything is tanked, and then try to pull out. Then you really at a loss. But I would recommend, don't pull it out. I'm not a financial advisor, but don't pull it out. Let it go ahead and hit. And if you are able to keep funding it, fund, because you're buying in at lows. But if it's something where you no longer employed, like for me, I was no longer employed and it was just sitting there and I was watching it just dwindle. And I'm thinking, oh man, because I was watching companies and corporations just close. And I was thinking, oh man, my retirement is going to just go from well over 6 figures down to 0. But looking back on it, it would have took me a long time, probably about 8 to 9 years to get the money back, but it would have came back. So I'm hoping some of these tidbits may be beneficial to you, may motivate you to just get creative, to inspire you to keep pushing on. You don't give up. Don't get caught up. All this media stuff. Look for things that's going to be beneficial. Get your faith system right. Get close to God. Lean not to your own understanding. Ask for guidance. Get close to people who are thriving and doing well. Get to understand some of the things they're doing, and tap into your talents, tap into your artistry. If you're an artist, tap into that. If you're good with your hands, tap into some of those things. Dust off them tools. I know you're going well beyond that. You may be in corporate America, you may be in upper level management. Don't disregard your raw talents and your raw gifts, because they will become priceless. And it's just like one of this guy that he's a well-known CEO over in Africa. He says, even though my country is poor, they still spend money every day. And if I can just get a piece of that commerce every single day, a piece of that transaction every day, it creates him to be well over a billionaire. So actions and movements will happen, and just hold on and be strong and look for creative opportunities. Hope y'all be well, be blessed, and don't forget to keep on growing.